The oldest vine in the world. It's not from where you think it is. More Napa Valley wine woes. Have we hit bottom yet? I hope we don't have to talk about this for much longer, but we'll discuss. And it's Willamette, damn it. And Pinot is king, but that may be changing. All that and more on this week's episode of This Week Uncorked. Well, Merry Christmas to all, and welcome to episode 75 of This Week Uncorked for Monday, December 22nd, 2025. I'm Brett Martin from Cork and Journey, and if you are not familiar, we are your number one source for corkage fees, winery reviews, wine reviews, restaurant reviews, regional wine guides, and oh so much more. Let's get right on into this week's wine news. By the way, this is my trusty Will Ferrell sweater. And what you can't see is down below. It says, Santa, I know him. So anyway, watch Elf. Enjoy it. It's a holiday classic. You got to watch it. That and It's a Wonderful Life. You know, just little tips. You do. You know what? Let me tie it into the show. Watch it with a glass of wine. Pro tip. That's what these kids say. Pro tip for you here. All right, let's start off the news with a 416-year-old grapevine in Tibet that has officially been named the oldest vine in the world by none other than the Guinness Book of World Records. So if a beer company says it so, then it must be true. Yes, there you go. So the article is interesting. It's got a diameter of more than 2 feet. They said they counted rings. Wouldn't you have to kill it to figure that out? It's 7,900 feet high. It's an old vine. And man, very limited. I'm like, hey, what varietal is it? Are we going to make wine from this? Do I care that it's the oldest grapevine in the world if you can't make wine from it? And you know, is it Zinfandel? Is it Grenache? I mean, and then, you know, if you saw a few weeks ago, we talked about, does it even matter if it's an old vine? Well, anyway, this would be interesting. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, hey, ChatGPT, do we know what varietal this grapevine is? And ChatGPT, after a deep pro think, came back and said, short answer, we don't know. And nobody reputable is saying yet. I checked beyond the UPI blurb and went into the primary and regional coverage. Guinness World Records write-up just calls it a wild grapevine and gives its age, size, and location. No species or varietal name. The Tibetan Review Online, Indus, and other regional reports repeat it's called the hometown of China's wild red grape. But again, no specific vitis or varietal. Now, we do know it's red. Okay. I don't know. Are there old white grapevines? I don't know. Anyway, so there are a whole bunch of different grapes. They're going to call it the X grape for now. But it's a 416-year-old vine. How's that for a little fluffy little Christmas story to start off the wine news? And now let's dive into more depressing things. The Napa County Times is reporting that Karina Todorov reports on the troubling shift in California's premium wine country in the 2025 harvest. This is new numbers I hadn't heard yet. 8,000 acres of Napa Valley vineyards. 20% of the county's acreage was just left on the vine to die, to rot. It was unharvested. Over 3,100 acres of vines were pulled between October 2024 and August 2025. And it's the same story. Oversupply, weak demand, quality-driven reasons, you name it. That's what's kind of happening around this. So from the article, there are many reasons why these grapes are not harvested. Both said the 2023 and 2024 vintages were heavy. The situation has created opportunities to cherry-pick fruit in the vineyard to elevate quality. Megan Gunderson, vice president of winemaking at Hall, also spoke at the press conference where this was all talked about and said Hall did not harvest all of its own fruit this year, she said, and contracted fruit did not meet the proper levels of ripeness. We're making sure that our inventory levels are appropriate, and we also want to make the very best wine, Gunderson said. And so where we harvested and where we didn't was very influenced by quality as well. There you have it. Bottom line is just demand is way down. Production was way up, especially it just kept ramping up during COVID when wine consumption was through the roof. Too many labels, too many wines, too much acreage planted, and now we're just kind of downsizing. We're right-sizing things is where it is. And to answer the question of, have we hit rock bottom yet? Over at Wine Searcher, W. Blake Gray dives much deeper into these issues. And this is probably one of the most balanced articles on the entire topic of, are we there yet and have we hit rock bottom, that I have actually read. He goes through everything that's going on in the U.S. wine industry. And he talks to a bunch of different people. John Moramarco, Rob McMillan over at Silicon Valley Bank, Jeff Bitter, Dale Stratton. It really goes through, talks to all these people about where they are. You've got the optimist, you've got the pessimist. He kind of breaks them all down that way. It's a good read if you kind of want to get a good idea as to where things are going in the wine industry. So from the article, I want to read this part because I think it's really interesting. First, a little background on why I'm asking the question. We've all read many stories of the wine market apocalypse over the last year, but one last week hit me harder than most. In 2019, I visited Red Mountain in Washington State and called it one of the trendiest AVAs in the United States. The Aquilinis, a billionaire family from Canada and the world's largest farmers of blueberries and cranberries. They bought about 12% of Red Mountain at auction and had an ambitious program to make great wine there. And they had a chain of restaurants in Canada where they can even sell their own wine. Last week, we learned from journalist Sean Sullivan that the family simply stopped production in the middle of harvest. I have a feeling my friends in Walla Walla will tell me quietly mistakes were made, but the Aquilinis spent tens of millions of dollars on their Washington wine business, possibly hundreds of millions, and they're just walking away. So many stories about this where people are just like, I'm done. And if you wanted to, you can pick up a lot of really, really nice wineries with tasting rooms and vineyards and all the back inventory for probably 50% less than you could have 5 years ago, which is kind of a different thing. So anyway, great article, kind of gets you to the whole bottom of what's going on in the world of wine. I think we're going to see better prices. If you saw last week, we kind of talked about Wine Spectator's top 100 list. Average price was $58. That's down. The price of wine is coming down. We're starting to see some changes. So hopefully it's for the better, and hopefully the quality of wine goes up. But anyway, if you really want to get into where everything that is happening there, W. Blake Gray, guy's a great writer. Check it out over at Wine Searcher. Link is in the show notes. And we're going to wrap it up with a little climate change story, because who doesn't like a climate change story? Over at OPB, which is Oregon Public Broadcasting, I tell you, I go deep for these stories. Brandon Anderson is reporting that climate change is reshaping Oregon's Willamette Valley. It's Willamette, damn it. Don't call it Willamette or Willamette or whatever. Willamette. But it's challenging Pinot Noir's dominance in the region. If you don't know Pinot, man, that's the grape up there. It does exceptionally well and challenges the best stuff you can get globally with what they're doing up there. But, times are changing and it's getting hotter earlier, and the growing seasons are pushing harvests weeks ahead of norms and making people make some hard choices as to, hey, maybe we need to rethink what we're planting in Willamette Valley. From the article, the stock's limited edition wines is also focused on alternative grapes. Brestock, the Pacific Northwest's first and only female master of wine, says she's experimenting with several varieties, but Cab Franc has her attention. Little pause here. Last time we were up there was probably 3 years ago. We were up at the International Pinot Festival, of course. And when we're going around doing tastings at the various vineyards, we kept saying, man, the Cab Franc here is killer. Really, really, really good. And it just kept standing out at us. These places that had Cab Franc, which most of them don't, you would taste it and you go, man, this is doing really well here. This tastes really good. So back to the article. She called Cab Franc an unsung hero in the Willamette Valley. Traditionally a warm weather grape, it develops its signature green pepper and mint character in drier regions such as Yakima, Walla Walla, and the Columbia Valley. In the Willamette Valley, however, the grape ripens later and slower, allowing for balanced sugar and acid development and more complex wines. Here's to it. Let's start grafting some Cab Franc on those Pinot vines, shall we? Anyway, that's going to wrap up the news. And with that, let's head to our wine and winery of the week. A little Sancerre here for you. I'm sincere in my dedication to Sancerre. I don't know why I came up with that. There you go. All right. Hey, we're going to talk about Barton Family Wines. They're in Paso Robles. They also have they got a triple header here going over at Barton. You've got Grey Wolf, Barton, and then they've even got a distillery that happens to be on premise as well. Joe Barton, great guy, usually walking around, him and his wife. They got a lovely tasting room, indoor, outdoor, nice views of their vineyards. I think they were just putting in some even little cottages so you can stay on premise. Kind of on Highway 46 there, right off of the 101, 46. If you get off, you start heading inland, they're going to be right there. Nice tasting room. We were members for, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. One of the first places I ever joined up there. They make really, really, really great wines. Nice tasting room. $30 is the price for your tasting up there, which is pretty reasonable. Want to check my cellar. I've only got one there up there, Cashmere from Barton. This was a blend, if I remember correctly. Maybe not. No, straight up Syrah. 2019. 4 barrels made. Anyway, they do some nice small batch stuff. They do some good stuff. It's worth checking out if you are up there. There's a lot to check out in Paso. I would put them on my list. Yes. Thinking about it here. They would. They would make my top 15 places I would visit if I was up in Paso. So, check them out. And with that, let's do our wine of the week. We're going to kind of honor what goes on in Paso here. You've got a lot of basically Rhone warriors there making some, GSMs. And so let's go to Châteauneuf-du-Pape for our wine of the week. This is Domaine du Grand Tinel, Châteauneuf-du-Pape. Gave it 93 points, only $45. Killer for that price. Good wine. You can find it pretty much everywhere. So, just, go to Wine Searcher, search for it. You can find it probably at Total Wine. But a nice wine for $45. I will tell you, if you want to go upstream a little bit, found this the other day. So this is the Deus Ex Machina, Clos Saint-Jean, Châteauneuf-du-Pape. You can find it over on First Bottle, a few other places. I've seen it in the $80 range. Average scores on this are in the very high 90s, anywhere from 96 to 98, 99 kind of thing. Crazy good wine. Crazy good. And anyway, if you can find it, I would definitely grab it. It is, although a little pricey, outrageously good. Outrageously good for Châteauneuf-du-Pape. All right. And with that, let's move on to our restaurant and Corkage of the week. Alrighty, we're going to go to Italy, to a town whose name I cannot pronounce, even though I have tried many times. The restaurant is Forma. The town is Civitavecchia. Civitavecchia? Someone from Italy, correct me on that. I've been corrected on that about 500 times. Stayed there for 3 days. Still can't remember. It's the little port town right there where you get on your cruise ship. So if you ever book a cruise and it says leaving from Rome, it's actually leaving from here. Anyway, there's a little Michelin star restaurant there called Forma. It's got a bib gourmand. Doesn't have a star, but it's good. Man, a lot of seafood. So expect that. I want to say they've got like a 5-course tasting, a 7-course tasting. They did it with pairings. We went full bore across. It was really excellent. Prices were really, really reasonable too for a restaurant of that quality. So if you're there, you're staying a night before you get on your cruise ship to go off and explore the Mediterranean, check out Forma. You cannot go wrong. Maybe you can, but not at Forma. There's a lot of ways you can go wrong, but not there. Anyway. And it's Italy, so no corkage. I keep saying this is our restaurant and Corkage of the week. I think if the restaurant doesn't have Corkage, I need to probably put another Corkage in there. That make a lot of sense. All right, everybody. Anyway, that is going to wrap up this Christmas episode. I hope everybody has a wonderful Christmas. Happy New Year. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on your favorite social media applications. Subscribe to us in your favorite podcast app. Watch the video below with Ian Cobble. And have a Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. We'll see you next year.